Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to the second episode of Amphibia. So yeah, we're back here with another episode of Amphibia, and just as a little context and everything, and just to discuss something before we get into this. So with my first episode reaction, Smurflogs actually, who has been reacting to the series, noted in the comments that if I really wasn't into the first episode, that I might not really get into the series as a whole, because it seems to keep the same kind of humor, the same kind of style to it. And I want to clarify that I didn't hate the first episode or anything. I just thought it was a little flawed, a little mediocre. It wasn't like the best thing ever or anything. It wasn't like on the level of, say, Star Versus, initial Star Versus, first couple season Star Versus, or Gravity Falls, or Steven Universe, or Legend of Korra, yada yada yada. It wasn't quite on the level of those with its premiere, and it just felt like it was not much, if I were to put it in a way. But I do want to continue to give it a chance. Now, I know the season had just finished, and the entire season ran for like less than a month total, which is ridiculous. But I'm still counting this for the ongoing thing because it just recently aired. So yeah, it's just being counted in this time slot, okay? But yeah, like I said, I didn't hate the first episode. I thought there was some really funny moments of it. I love the Peppers joke, like that was great. And it does have a certain level of mystery and interest that I still think that, well, intrigues me well enough to want to continue. As I said, I'm not going to drop the show unless I really feel like I don't want to react to it or just continue watching it in general. If I really feel like my interest is pretty much non-existent. And right now, it's definitely not. Right now, I do have interest, so yeah. I don't know where this is going to go at all, though. Like, I mean, there's not much to work off of. I think a lot of this is probably going to be episodic, a lot of just random stuff happening. The only thing we kind of got leading to an ongoing storyline is the fact that one of Anne's friends is shown to be imprisoned by who we can only presume is the bad guy, based on just, typical or cartoon tropes of the way he looks, the way he speaks, etc., etc. Plus the fact that his introduction is given to us by having a character trapped in a cage. So, yeah. Just as a note, for those who also may be wondering, I'm obviously going to have a video up before this as well, just explaining as well. Yeah, there was no live stream today because I had to go get my state ID renewed, and I ended up being out a lot longer than I thought I was going to be. Way past when, like, I had kind of anticipated I'd be back before 1 p.m. I didn't get back until after 2:30. So, yeah. Kind of didn't work out there. But in the end, everything got settled with that. That's all good. And so, yeah, it's like, luckily I don't have to do that all the time. It's only every 4 years, so. But yeah, we got that taken care of. And unfortunately, we're just going to have to skip having a live stream this week. But yeah, as for going back to Amphibia, like I said, I will continue to watch this unless I really feel like I don't have any interest. That's where this is kind of going at this point with pretty much everything. So, now obviously my interest will wane if it continues to just kind of be super generic and blah to me. But if it continues to keep my interest to any degree pretty much, then it'll probably be good. But hopefully, that was just a first episode thing, and hopefully, the future episodes get much better. We get a lot more character and development with our protagonists and even antagonists and just characters in general. And I hope they do a lot more as well to make all of our characters feel like unique and interesting in their own way. That they don't just feel like too samey and everything. Or too much like just generic stereotypes either. Also, just as a note, it is kind of dark in here despite it only being like 3:20 right now. But that's because it's overcast out there and it's raining. It's been raining pretty hard. Pretty much it started right after I got home. Luckily, it didn't start while I was out, but yeah, it's going pretty hard. um, at least it has been. I think it might be stopped or slowed down right now. But either way, yeah. And turning on the light, as you know, just kind of illuminates one side of my face, so it doesn't really help too much. Um, but yeah, this should be fine. You guys can see me and all. And yeah, you can also see my new Team Rocket t-shirt, which is for a cosplay for Youmacon later this year. But yeah, either way, I'm excited to get this started. I'm still interested in the series, and I'm hoping for the best going forward. So let's get on with it. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the line to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after you fade to black and then fade back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so if I'm being honest, this was actually worse than the first episode. Um, this just was not enjoyable. It wasn't like horribly offensive or like really terrible or anything, but it just really wasn't fun to watch. Even the humor like was better in the first episode. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. So 2A was about Anne and I don't even know his name, the kid, breaking Hop Pop's cane on accident, mostly Anne, because they're being dumbasses. Like, Anne is, as I mentioned in the first episode, taking to this way too quickly and easily. The fact that she's stuck in another world, which is definitely a major problem. But not only that, she's integrating too quickly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's acting like she's just part of everything. Like, this is normal for her. Like, she's a part of this family, even. And she's insulting and making fun of Hop Pop as if, like, you know, as if they're actually family, instead of he's someone putting her up and stuff. And honestly, he had every right to threaten to kick her out for that. Because the thing is, she was being extremely rude and disrespectful to someone she barely knew. And to someone who, out of the kindness of his heart, was helping her out in a situation where she clearly needed it. Especially with what we know of that otherwise she was sleeping in a really bad cave and all. But she at least realizes her mistake with the cane. She goes to try and get it fixed. And then is completely stupid by just going to this doom tree without even thinking about it. And even though she's told how dangerous it is, that apparently frogs have died on the way, just on the way there, and no one apparently has survived coming back. And it's like, yet she's just like completely ignores that warning, and it's just like so dead set on this at the basically at the risk of her, not only herself but of her new friends too. Which, like, it's one thing to be willing to risk your life to make something right for someone else. Like, that's all well and good, but when you're putting two children at risk who are presumably younger than she is, that's not okay. Especially, again, since they know no one has made it back alive. And yes, they managed to do so somehow, practically by luck. And it's just, it's stupid. And then the second episode. So Anne has been sleeping in the basement, but the basement floods, so she has to stay um with the kid. But they start to, as Hot Pot predicted, start to argue and fight and everything, get on each other's nerves, and until eventually they end up basically getting into this situation where they make up by just kind of having to work together. Um, it's so fucking cliche. It was so cliche, it hurts. Everything about that episode and how it went down was super generic, bland, and cliche. They didn't even try to change up that formula. It's so bad. I mean, it's not even a good idea. The idea that, oh, um the parent figure, the adult figure, who's this old man, it automatically assumes that two friends rooming together will automatically go bad, and then it's proven right. No. Friends can room together and do just fine. Even if they have differences in how they sleep and how they get to sleep and whatnot. Proving that really archaic idea correct, as if trying to state some kind of message, is really, really just messed up in a way. And the problem is, like I said, it's very cliche. This kind of thing's been done to death. This kind of idea, this concept. But and to see it in a modern cartoon done exactly the same as it's always done, and still spread that idea, that message that friends shouldn't room together, basically, that like that'll just start to tear them apart, basically, and that they'll do nothing but fight and argue and get on each other's nerves and fuck with each other's stuff and whatnot. It's a really stupid, outdated idea. It just, that kind of stuff irritates me. Not to mention, it just wasn't funny. The kind of stuff they were doing to get, that they were doing mostly on purpose, honestly, to get on each other's nerves was just really dumb. And none of it was like, it was all cliche. Like, you've seen this in a million other things with leaving the towels on the floor, loud crunching at night. It's like, oh my gosh, could you get any more cliche than that? Could you get any more generic with how you're handling this? And it's just like, oh my gosh. Anne, as a character with these first two episodes, is just kind of okay. She has a lot of potential, but nothing is really capitalized on. Instead, they just paint her as a bratty, generic, but admittedly good-hearted young teenage girl. A very generic, stereotypical, cliched character. Nothing really special or unique or interesting about her. The kid, the frog kid, is honestly annoying as fuck. I mean, he's not the most annoying character I've seen in any of these shows. I mean, obviously Ponyhead from Star Versus is legendarily annoying. But still, he's not charming or funny or cute. He's just really annoying, and it's just not fun watching him. Hop Pop is a more interesting old man character than most. He's not as stereotypically ornery and whatnot, but he still doesn't do anything special. And as I mentioned in the first episode, afterthoughts, the little tadpole girl, the younger sister, I think it's Polly. She is super generic. The entire uh, hard ass little girl character who screams a lot, gets angry a lot, and seems to like make like dark jokes and shit just out of the blue. Like that kind of character's been done to death, and it's not really that fun. Like the entire part where she said, haha, frogs died here. It's like it was a little funny. But when you think about it, it's like, yeah, I've seen that kind of character say that kind of thing before. And it really didn't feel unique or special at all. I mean, compare it to Webby from the DuckTales reboot. Webby is smart, she's clever, she's funny, she's cute. She takes things way out of the box with her character archetype and shows that she's actually a very useful member of the group, that she's actually very like unique and special. She comes across as someone who's not bound by those old cliches and stereotypes. In fact, hell, the original Webby from the old 80s DuckTales was that way. And they made a point of changing her to stay away from those cliches. But in this, it's just like, ugh. She's so generic. Polly, I mean. And then there's that crazy old character who was more focused on in the first episode, but in this one he just kind of comes along and it's like, oh, you two being friends, unnatural. Fuck y'all, I'm out. And it's like he's just there to be a very stereotypical old man with a very conservative mindset. And it's like, oh my god, just every character is super generic. The woodworker is this quirky weirdo. Yeah, of course he is. The only thing that really surprised me was the fact that the tree was actually a giant wooden stick bug thing. Or rather, like some kind of weird little green bug wearing armor? But then how did it have that giant-ass fanged mouth? And it's like, oh my gosh, that just doesn't even make sense. I said in the pre-thoughts, I'm going to continue giving this a shot until it really makes me, not want to watch anymore, not want to react to it anymore. Until my interest in continuing basically dies down to practically nothing. And the problem is, this episode did that. And I hate that. This episode was so much worse than the first episode that it actually killed my interest in this series. And I hate that so much because I was interested in this. So many people have been talking so well of this series, and I just completely lost interest in it within the course of this episode because of how poorly this was handled. And I'm just really upset by that because I wanted to like this. I wanted this to be good. I wanted this to be something unique and special, and I wanted the first episode to be proven wrong. That it was just a first episode. And as always, maybe it gets better later down the road, but as I say, I'm not going to... And I guess it's especially a good way to put it with this series. I'm not going to wade through the swamp to get to the good stuff. I'm not going to just force myself to sit through a show that I'm not enjoying at all. just to get to something that may or may not be good later on. I'm not going to do that to myself or you guys. It would just not make for good reactions for you guys. It would not be entertaining just to see me constantly complaining and be irritated while watching. And it wouldn't make for an enjoyable experience for me. I don't like watching stuff in general that is lacking in entertainment for me. So reacting to it, putting forth effort into that, yeah, why the hell would I want to do that? So yeah, I'm sorry, I really am. I hate dropping shows, especially this early into them, but I can't do it. I can't sit through more of this. At least not reacting to it. Maybe I'll watch it like with Smurf. Maybe I'll watch your videos on it and everything. But I cannot sit through this. I cannot sit through reacting to this show. Not if it's going to be like this. And according to you, it is going to be like this. You see, with the first episode, it didn't take away my interest enough. This one just dive bombed with it. So yeah, I really apologize. So that brings on the question of what will replace it starting next week. And that is actually something I hadn't been thinking of because I didn't really expect it to be this unenjoyable with this episode. I really didn't. So I have two ideas, though, so I just have to check something to make sure on something before I can determine that. Because technically, again, this is a currently airing slot, and I just want to be safe about that and make sure on that kind of thing. So let me just check real quick. Okay. So there's two shows I'm considering. Neither of them are currently airing, but one of which I think is more recent. And I think I'm going to go for that one because, again, it's more recent. The other one will just be on the list for future polls and stuff. So yeah, it's not currently airing, but technically it would be, I think. I don't know how many weeks ago it was released, but I think it would still be if it were released one episode a week instead of all together on Netflix. I'm not 100% on that, but it's close enough. And that is Agretzko Season 2. The second season of the Netflix anime series Agretzko. And I can tell you with certainty that I will not be dropping that. It would have to be insurmountably bad for me to drop it because the first season was amazing. The holiday special was great, even if it wasn't perfect. It's very, very unlikely that I would drop Agretzko. So yeah, we will be watching Season 2 of Agretzko starting next Friday, which will join Carol on Tuesday. Again, I really apologize about dropping Amphibia so quickly, but this is clearly not a show for me. It's clearly not a show that's going to appeal to me in pretty much any way, and I just don't want to do that to you guys or myself. So yeah, it's just I can't do that. Thank you all so much for understanding, and thank you all so much for continuing to support the channel and everything. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,